What's up, everyone? Keith Fleming, host of the Daily Fix Show with my boy Joe the Brain Matz and head of DFS content, here to talk about the bittersweet conference championship weekend. I say that because that means we're running out of weeks to be watching football, but we're going to, in this video, give a lineup for the NFC Conference Championship, a showdown captains lineup for DraftKings. Before I get into that, I just want to tell everybody, please subscribe to the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. You will find videos from myself, beat the waiver wire ads, which were very successful this year. And starting after the Super Bowl, we will be doing player or rookie profiles, for the upcoming draft. So a lot of great stuff to come. Please be sure to subscribe. But again, I'm here today to hopefully help you win some money on DraftKings in your DFS lineups, and I'm going to give you a lineup for the Showdown Captain mode for the NFC title game. Full disclosure, I have no idea what is going to happen in this NFC title game. Me and Joe Matz talked about it on the Daily Fix Show. You can listen to that on Spotify or Apple to hear detail about all of our picks. We gave several lineups on this week's episode. But I think the AFC is a lot easier to kind of predict what's going to happen. This NFC game, I could see a lot of different ways playing out. Because of that, I'm going to go a little different with my captain. Normally, I recommend taking the stud that you think is going to have the best game and going with him because I'm not sure who that is. I'm going to go with a much cheaper option and then try to get as many of the expensive players that could have those big games to fill out the rest of my lineup. So I'm going with Elijah Mitchell, 7,800. I do think the Niners are going to be able to run the ball versus Philly. It's just the question is how much. Are they going to be able to dominate by running the ball? Or are they just going to be able to run it pretty well? Because that is the easiest way to expose the Philly D. And if you look at it, Mitchell in the games with CMC, he is used just as much as McCaffrey. CMC only out-touched Mitchell 25-19 so far in the playoffs. Only 6 carries. There's been plenty of instances where they both played, and Mitchell has actually out-touched McCaffrey. The Chargers game, he outrushed him 18-14. Cardinals game, 9-7. The Saints game, for instance, McCaffrey out-touched him to 11-7, but that was the game Mitchell got hurt. The Cardinals game, CMC again, 10-5, but that was Mitchell's first game back from the injury. So last week, he actually did this. Mitchell had 14 carries to the 9 for CMC. He's seen 17 red zone touches in just the 7 games he's played this year, at least 2 and 5 of 7. I think there's a good chance he scores, a really good chance that he ends up with more rush attempts than CMC. So that gives him a lot of value. Again, I think the way to exploit this Eagles defense is on the ground. And it gives me a lot of flexibility for the rest of my lineup. Let's get into that now. I'm going to go ahead and put Jalen Hurts in there at 11K. The Niners have historically really struggled with running quarterbacks. They did a good job this year, including against Justin Fields. But remember, that was like the Mud Bowl. It's also the first game of the year. But Murray, the last 2 years, has just really had a field day versus this Niners team in the run game. And then on top of that, the Niners, their real weakness is against the pass, as I talked about. So there's 2 ways Hurts can hurt them, no pun intended. So I think that he's a guy that definitely needs to be in this lineup. I'm going to go with Juwan Jennings. It's my cheap play, 2,400. Eagles are really bad versus slot receivers. I've been talking about this on the Daily Fix Show for, honestly, months at this point. They allow 14 yards per receptions to receivers from the slot. They gave up 23 touchdowns. That's 3rd most in the league to receivers in the slot. And Jennings is the receiver for the Niners that lines up there the most by far, 44% of the time. None of the other guys, Ayuk, Kittle, or Samuel, are over 20%. So I'm hoping maybe he scores a touchdown. And he did have a big play last week as well. So next I'm going to go with George Kittle, 7,800. By far, Purdy's favorite weapon. I would argue this is the easiest way to pass on the Eagles along with the slot receivers. It's really difficult to do it on the outside. That's why I'm not very bullish about Ayuk or Samuel this week. He scored 7 touchdowns in the 7 starts with Purdy, averaging over 15 points per game, had double figures in 5 of 7. He's definitely his favorite target. I think he should be in any captain lineup for this game, no matter what you think is going to happen. Next, give me CMC, 11,400. I think the Niners run on the Eagles, again, like I said, and, CMC is a better option than Purdy, or maybe trying to fix this where I can have both Eagles receivers, because I do have an Eagles receiver I'm about to talk about in just a second. Obviously, McCaffrey is somebody who catches a lot of passes, which is just stealing on DraftKings. I love the full point PPR. It's where you can find value in receivers. There's obviously no value in McCaffrey at his price, but he definitely is going to score points, whether it's on the ground or with receptions. And then I'm going to finish it out with A.J. Brown. I like Devontae Smith overall. You can listen to the Daily Fix show to find out why. But I have him in my 2-game slate, and I don't want to overload because, again, the Niners, they give up passing yards. Lamb last week had a monster game. Metcalf the week before had a monster game. And my partner on the Daily Fix, our co-host Joe Matz, talked about that where the Niners defense or secondary really struggles is on deep passes. They're like 30th in the league versus passes of 20 yards or more. I mean, A.J. Brown was built in a lab for downfield passing. He's one of the best deep targets in the league. And so that's the reason I'm putting him in that lineup. That lineup now totals at 49,600. Obviously, there's a lot of flexibility in there. And again, you might wonder, why did I go with Mitchell as my captain? For starters, again, I think that he's got a good chance to have a good game. He's going to have probably just as many touches as CMC. That's kind of been the way it's been. And then on top of that, I think it's going to be low owned, which in these captains lineups, you either got to get it exactly right or you got to take some chances. And it's obviously taking some chances. One other thing is, again, I have $400 left over. Normally on DK or any DFS, they recommend spending every dollar. And I understand that. But in these small slates or single games, I think by leaving salary on the table, it makes it less likely that you're going to share lineups with people, especially if it's like $300-$400 or more, because other people are obviously going to try to get their lineup to as close to that $50,000 range as possible. Okay, so that's my NFC Captains lineup. I hope it does well for you this weekend. Again, please subscribe to the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it if you check out the Daily Fix Show, where we broke down these games in more detail. You can find more information. You can find us on Twitter at the Daily Fix Show. And I will see you guys soon. Take care.